So I think it's time for like a new video, right?
Yeah. I was thinking about doing a panning tutorial this time.
Okay, like maybe like shooting cars or something going across the shot or what?
Something like that, but I think cars are pretty overdone. So I think let's try something a little different. I'm not sure what though. So we got to think about something.
I think I got an idea. Let's get Joe to help.
All right, guys, we're out here at the park, and let's get started teaching you guys how to do panning shots. So there's 5 things to remember when you're doing a panning shot. The first one is what camera mode are you going to shoot in. Number 2 is your shutter speed, how much of a panning effect you want to get. Number 3 is going to be your position, how you're holding the camera makes a big deal in getting a sharp shot. Number 4 is going to be the speed of panning. And number 5 is going to be your composition. So let's talk through each one of these. All right, so the first thing we want to talk about is the actual camera mode. There's basically 2 modes you're going to use for creating a panning shot. One is going to be shutter priority, or the other is going to be manual. Now, if you aren't as comfortable setting up your exposure, then you probably want to use shutter priority because you can basically control the amount of the blur by controlling just the shutter, and the camera will kind of take care of the rest to get the exposure. If you guys are comfortable with exposure, I would recommend going to manual because you'll get a much better and more consistent effect. You can control the depth of field, the ISO, to control all the brightness and get exactly what you want straight from the camera. So we're going to shoot in manual mode. All right, now the second thing I want to go over is the shutter speed. Now your shutter speed is going to control the amount of blur that you have in your pan. The faster the shutter speed, the less blur, the more it's going to freeze the subject. So if we're shooting at 1/250th of a second, then it's going to basically completely freeze the subject. When we slow it down to 1/100th, you're going to see more motion, 1/60th even more, and 1/30th even more. Now, what you want to be careful of with shutter speed is that you don't want to go too low because you're going to show a lot of motion blur from the camera because it's not being stabilized. So probably 1/30th is the lowest you want to go. It also depends on how fast your subject is moving. So the faster your subject is moving, well, the faster you can have your shutter speed because you're going to be panning quicker to follow the subject. The third thing that we want to talk about, guys, is the position, how you're holding the camera. It makes a big deal, especially if you're not using a tripod. You can use a tripod for these, but we're going to just hand hold it. Tripod does make it easier, but it is possible to do just hand holding. So what you want to do is you want to hold the camera right against your chest with your elbows tucked in, with the viewfinder up to your eye, just like this. So if you guys can see this, elbows tucked in, that's going to help keep basically the camera very stable, and you're going to pan with the torso. So I'm not going to move my arms at all, I'm just going to pan with my torso across to follow the subject. The fourth thing that we want to keep in mind is the panning speed. You want to pan at the same speed as the subject. If you don't pan at the same speed as the subject, well, the subject's not going to appear sharp because the camera's not moving at the same speed. So the easiest way to do that is to pick one of the focal points in your camera and to keep that focal point on the subject as you're panning across the screen, okay? The fifth thing that we want to mention is basically the composition. Now, when you're shooting a panning shot, it's going to be an action shot, so you want to keep the subject moving into the frame, not out of it. So that means you want to frame the subject on the edge moving inside, basically. If you frame it on the outside edge and he's moving out of the picture, it's going to look kind of weird because there's a bunch of empty space and the subject's moving off to out of the frame. So Joe, what I want you to do is just run from right to left across the screen and just keep it, constant speed and everything. And let's do this. You ready to go, dude?
Yep.
Go! It's been a long time since he's been running. All right, Joe, left to right, baby. Go! Yes, that's what I'm talking about. All right, get a little bit of motivation, get in the zone. I'm gonna need you to run, a little bit of screaming and flailing. It's all good, baby, all right? Okay. All right, Joseph, just picture the dog, baby. Picture the dog. Let's go. Let's go, run. Run it, baby. Run it. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. All right, go for it, dude. And that's how it's done.